Do you know what day it is?
Easter?
Besides that, it's time for the top 10 to finally come out! We know you've all been waiting
Yes.
with...
Bated breath.
Okay, you want to go first, John?
Sure, why not?
Here we go, 10!
That means that your number one will be the ultimate song of all time.
Oh no. No pressure.
No pressure. Alright, my number 10 is Blind by the Talking Heads. This very underrated song of theirs, or, you know, I guess not that underrated if it makes it into, like, David Byrne's latest tour and that type
Which
of
was
thing.
fantastic, by the way.
Yes. But it's just this great, like, it's the combination of, like, one of their, like, kind of catchier, more, like, tropical sounding riffs and grooves and such, with, like, some of his most, like, scathing lyricism.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of just not entirely, I don't know if there's a specific thing it's talking about, but just kind of is generally some kind of, like, you know, dystopian or, like, kind of, like, everyone in power is blind. And he says, like, the verses with such force, but then just everything with such enthusiasm.
Absolutely,
that you kind of,
yeah.
like, go along with it while, go along with the groove while, like, kind of feeling the burn.
The burn.
I don't know.
The burn? Like the David Byrne.
The David Byrne. Alright, what's your number 10?
Number 10 is a bit of a semi-lesser-known song by Muse. It's called Unnatural Selection, and this is a great one off the Resistance album, which is my second favorite album of theirs. It's probably, like, the more symphonic one of those. Not symphonic literally as such, but, like, somewhat symphonic, but, like, dramatic, you know, taking a lot from Queen and things like that, which obviously I'm going to be on board with. And but this one is, like, a harder rocker with a bunch of little bits to it, and, you know, you're going to see a lot of parts in the upcoming top 10, okay? There's going to be a lot of songs with parts. So you've got dramatic beginning and pounding riff and...
Dramatic middle,
dramatic
end.
middle, dramatic build up into reprise of riff at end. Yeah. And it's all very scathing about government rigs and stuff.
And natural selection. Muse are intelligent design fans, as we all know. So this song is kind of where they really finally let that show. They're like, Matt Bellamy said in an interview, now that we're big enough, we can finally take on those scientists.
And that's why they've been so open about their atheism, am I right?
Yep.
Go on.
He's an atheist intelligent
An atheist,
design.
how is that possible? I just want to know how that's possible. Go on, John, please, bring us the next atheist
All right.
design and song.
Our next
anthem.
atheist designed song, probably, I don't know about his beliefs, but is
Sure.
All My Friends by LCD Sound System.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. So this is just, it's built around this great, like, piano riff with kind of lots of, like, subtle changes that build it up over time with more and more kind of rhythm things entering in. And it's just kind of a very, like, sentimental kind of song. It's basically set from, like, James Murphy is, like, slightly older now, and kind of, like, he and his friends are, like, going out for a night, but it kind of, everything is viewed through the lens of kind of, like,
An
you know,
aged
it's been
version of James Murphy,
it's been a while since they've done it. It'll probably be even longer before they do it again. And he's kind of like, you know, it's like wistful in a way.
I know it's an unpopular opinion to prefer the Franz Ferdinand version. I just like how it's structured and kind of brings out the topic a little more. It brings out, like, a couple of nice riffs that only happen once in the LCD Sound System version, and then they make it into an integral part of the song, like that first 5 years that I got the plan. That's the chorus now, kind of a deal. And I think it kind of brings out the message a little more. But that's me. Over to you, John.
I think it's the chorus in the LCD Sound System also.
Do they repeat it each time, though?
They don't say those lines, but, like, they do that riff in the background of it.
They do. Okay,
times.
yeah.
Like, they do that. They bring back that same thing for, like, the last line, like, or the last, like, after, like, well, the face like a dead and something.
Yeah, I certainly like their ending better than I like the Franz Ferdinand ending, because Franz Ferdinand's a lot more of, like, a traditional-ish structure that kind of and then the chorus is like a traditional chorus sort of deal. But we're not here to argue about. But
Yes.
you just said the LCD Sound System version, and no version of that ever made my list. So
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
What's your version? I can tell you which version of it is better.
Brighton Rock.
Oh man, the Parliament Funkadelic cover.
If there is one, that would be interesting.
So much better.
So
They really bring out the funk in it.
there's funk in Brighton Rock. Where?
There is
Where
a
in any-
Parliament Funkadelic version.
I'm trying to picture like the George Clinton vocalization over that. Yeah, we coming to the Brighton Rock. Do the rock, catch a rock, catch a.
Brighton,
Do the rock, catch a.
Brighton.
Bow wow yow yippee Brighton yay. Bow wow yippee Brighton yay. Okay.
All
Anyway,
right.
actually though, so there's two reasons why Brighton Rock is on my list. I think the studio version is already a cracking song, you know, one of their harder rockers and a cracking song. It's a very British state turn of phrase, isn't it? But they also made it into sort of the Brian May showcase in the live versions, and he did this really interesting thing where he has two delay pedals, and so he's got them spaced out so that as he plays it kind of forms a harmony behind him and kind of keeps circulating, and he's doing all these harmonies but like without overdubs or guitars, just kind of like this sort of almost trippy sort of a deal, and it's just really, really well done and just like awesome to witness when you can. Yeah.
My number 8 is by a band I'm sure all of our viewers want me to shut up about already.
I've got a top 10 full of repeats, okay?
This is my top Crazy Arm song on the list. This is Song of Choice, which is actually a cover of, I think it's
Like some
Patty
folk song,
Seeger or something like that.
Not Pete Seeger, right?
No.
It's another Seeger, yeah.
From like the 50s. And so this is a kind of, it's mostly a folk song, just like very pretty acoustic guitar. At the very end, it builds into like a couple distorted chords to like really drive the point home. And it's kind of, it's all about kind of, you know, like fascism coming back, but like people, but like, you know, people staying blind to it and like, oh, it's not here yet, it doesn't affect me, and so they don't do anything about it. And then use the central metaphor of like the weeds, like in January you can cut the weeds down, in December, you know, when they've fully grown, it's too late to cut them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very solid sentiment.
And so they add like a little topical ending onto the original. I think just has the first two verses. This one adds kind of a final verse specific to like England then. I guess the neo-Nazi had just kind of gotten elected to parliament, so they kind of add on like a little distorted, like hard, like
They call it the BNP, don't they?
yeah.
Which are, like the British equivalent of the Tea Party, I think.
I think maybe even more Nazi.
I think
like
even
than
more,
the Tea
yeah.
Party. Yeah.
But like, but like that
Like
kind
Trump
of sort
supporter,
of, yeah.
that kind of Nazi.
That kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So even worse.
Yeah. So that's number 8.
All right. Number 8 from me is Love Ran Our Me by the U. We've seen a lot of U. We're not going to stop saying U for a bit. So this is the finale, first of all, of Quadrophenia, which really is one of the greatest albums ever made. So at this point in the story, Jimmy, the protagonist, has sailed out on a boat and very drunkenly crashed into a rock because, you know, the preceding song, you know, other than the rock instrumental, is Dr. Jimmy, where he's just getting himself angry and fudged up. And he's gone and crashed into it, and he's on the rock, and he's watching, you know, it surrounds, you know, a person that has multiple personalities, and he's watching all the personalities swirl into the water they've just drowned, you know, symbolically. And he's on the rock that just nothing left to live for, sort of a deal. And for a while it was very ambiguous whether he just like leaps off the rock on the end with his love and commits suicide. I think Townsend clarified later on that he comes back and he's just transformed and lets everything go or whatever. He's not the person. He's very famous for these super ambiguous but character growth endings where nothing really changes except for the person. So that's sort of the case there. But, you know, really the song itself, the central point is Roger Daltrey on vocals, you know, one of the most brilliant vocal performances in rock, just embodying fury and anger of how everything's going wrong, and this wonderful piano in the background, how it builds into the guitar, and You know, just everyone
that is
is
a
on.
dramatic song.
Now that's a dramatic song, and then you end with literally, I think, Keith Moon walking through the drum set. Like, if you hear after the glass chorus, you're going... So,
Yes.
yeah, they just went all out on that one, so I love it.
All right, my number 7 artist only showed up once before on my list. This is Desperados Under the Eaves by Warren Zevon, the late and great. And this is kind of just this big, like, 70s California ballad. He's kind of like a down-and-out guy, drinking away, going to get kicked out of the hotel. And it kind of builds this wonderful ending where it kind of like he's talking about an air conditioner humming, and then like an entire like choir of people join with the hum. Yep. It sounds ridiculous, but it's like,
but it's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
beautiful big ending.
It's just how you talk about it and how it sounds.
Yes. Yeah, there's like a cover group here who do a Warren Zevon show every January, and that's always like one of the highlights of it.
Absolutely, they did a beautiful job with it.
What's your number 7?
My number 7 was on John's list before. It was Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. We've already gone over a bit of this. Very Broadway, very drama, very fabulous and campy.
Great for killing zombies.
Great for killing zombies. Go on. Yeah, back to you. Let's save time.
All right, my number 6 is Subdivisions by Rush.
Subdivisions.
It's my highest Rush song. From their much maligned synth era.
Yeah, I'm part of that malignation. I'm sorry. I like that song though.
It's just this great, like, it's still a showcase for their like technical ability. Like, even though it's synth focused, like the drums are still crazy. There's all this other stuff, but it's just kind of this. I don't know. Something about it is kind of this like, it sets this great kind of like almost like Twilight mood to it, like. And just kind of a lot of, some of them, like, Geddy Lee has learned to restrain his voice at this point, so it's kind of like a more, like, pretty kind of, a lot of great, like, lyric writing, just kind of about the suburbs,
and shopping
their
malls.
soul-crushingness, and just kind of a fantastic overall song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd say the synth era gets a pass for that song alone, even.
Very
like losing
beautiful,
it.
Solos, the solo period of it is great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's me now, is it?
Yes.
Not really looking at me. Okay. We next have number 6. Another Who number, a little more, an opener this time, a little more.
Who number?
Baba O'Reilly.
Did I have this on my list?
I don't think you did.
I think it was there for a while.
And then you changed it probably.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember. You might have. You might have.
Who knows?
I guess just in case I'll quickly recover it.
Go for it.
It's the opener of Who's Next, which is one of the greatest albums in rock. Just, straight through it is just barely filler. It just could be a greatest hits disc on its own. But this one, starts off with the synthesizer. You got this great build-up for, just like a full minute or so. Whereas the synthesizer, and you got the piano, and you've got the drums, and you got the bass, and the vocals, and yes, I'm doing it all in order, and then the guitar. And, yes, that's the sequence. And then the fiddle later. It's all joined in, and it becomes the big, beefy rock song that we're aware of, and it kind of ebbs and flows, and it ends with a flipping fiddle jig.
Yep.
It's just, 5 minutes that feel like 2. It's an amazing song.
Agreed.
Over to you.
My number 5 is another one Mia agrees is a great song because she had it on her list.
Oh.
This is the apex, just pure raw conduction of anger. And
Yes.
What's your guess?
I haven't got one.
Killing in the Name.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
go.
It wasn't that song I was guessing. I want to
No.
clarify.
Mia was guessing There's a Light That Never Goes Out, of course, which is well known for being just furious. Morrissey's about to stab a man.
In the car. He wants to see you later. He'll die.
Driving in your car.
I
Give
won't
me
do what
your
you tell
wallet
me.
or I'll bash you in the hammer.
I can't picture an angry Morrissey per se. I don't think it can happen without
He's
like
more
dripping
like
sarcasm.
indignant,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's condescending, not angry. But anyway, back to Rage.
No, that's all there really is
all,
to say
okay.
about that. What is your number 5?
Number 5 is, I have to remember some of this because I wrote this earlier. Death on Two Legs by Queen. Another album opener. We got some album openers and closers like crazy here. I think there are at least 2 more. But this is the opener of Night at the Opera, which is a very famous Queen album, rightfully so. It's one with Bohemian Rhapsody and other numbers. But this one is my favorite off the album. This just starts off the album with a bang. The first thing you hear is fade-in, dramatic Rachmaninoff style piano. And it comes in a little more, and it builds, and then suddenly you've got this song about this absolutely scathing, condescending and angry at once song, speaking of condescension and anger.
Oh yeah, that's some great lyrics in that one.
And a true story about their flipping rip-off of a manager when they had changed to a new one. And I think they were even a little, like, the 3 other members, like, evil apprehensive to release it, because, like, we might get in serious trouble. But they did it and it became legendary, so good stuff. Thank you, Freddie, for pushing it.
What's your favorite insult from it?
Maybe was your fit on the back part of the deal, shark? That or, you're a sewer rat decaying in a cesspool of pride, I think is even better. Never mind. That might be my favorite. What about yours?
I like the just kind of like the quick aside, I think you should.
Oh yeah, do you feel like suicide? I think you should.
I think you should.
And the backup vocals, nice and semi-subtled. Yes. That's great.
Alright, my number 4 is Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. I guess it's kind of another one with that kind of wistful thing, much like All My Friends, because it's like this kind of band where they're still able to, you know, play on Fridays. They all know they're not going anywhere.
They're still enjoying the heck out of it.
They're still enjoying it, yeah. And it's like society has passed them by. Like the kids are there and don't care about them. Like the styles have moved on. And they're all, they make it clear they're a pretty talented band. It's not like there's some, you know, washed up has-beens just, or, you know, like they don't deserve it. Yeah, and then they get this like shot at glory, and it's kind of, I would give a tie to the 2 versions of it. There's like the studio version, which is great and a little more like concise, and then the Alchemy live version, which just has like so much like energy. It's got like a maniac behind the drums. I'm not actually sure whether it's the same guy as the studio or not.
If you haven't noticed, John's a big fan of Mania.
Yeah, well, it's one where they really up the energy of the song, like, and they turn the guitar solo at the end from like a 1-minute nice guitar solo to kind of like a 4-minute, 5-minute extended ending, like with crescendos and downscendos and such.
Downscendos.
Yeah, fantastic song.
Oh yeah. My number 4 is a much shorter number. Keep Yourself Alive by Queen. Another album opener. Oh yeah, so there's 3 actually. To the very first Queen album. I mean, this is the first thing you hear from these guys, and it's not like fully formed Queen yet, but this song is the closest thing, I think. It's this very concise, great riff, great performance.
Yeah, Freddie's uncle forgot to breathe and died, so he's like, I guess we gotta remind our listeners that, you know, if they
Why are you making him sound Liverpudlian?
I've gotta remind our listeners if they don't breathe, they're gonna die.
Well, thank you, Mr. McCartney. That's very kind. But yeah, it's just the first thing you hear out of Queen, and it's already fabulous. Again,
John's a talentless hack, by the way.
What, Deacon?
Yes. Him too.
What's your number 3, John?
My number 3?
Oh, no.
No, it's not a Paul McCartney song. My number 3 might be I had 2112. So my number 3 is not the longest on my list.
Oh, yeah.
But it is very long. It is Jungleland by Bruce Springsteen. Super epic. It's got just this amazing piano riff that start things off. It's got so many different parts. It kind of has, its first half is like, could be just like a 4-minute concise Born to Run type song, where it's like starting with piano, then going into this rock thing.
A sax solo, yeah.
But and then like a very brief thing, and then kind of just some great like It's about like, I don't know, there's people like young people out on the street getting up to all these mishaps and such.
And like, I think sort of an impoverished neighborhood sort of
Yeah,
a deal?
impoverished neighborhood, yeah, and like crimes and such. It's got just some of his best deliveries, and then after the first half, there's like an extended sax solo before it goes to this like quiet, super intense kind of part with just like piano and like some Bruce's best vocal deliveries, like. Then it builds like slowly back up without the things coming in and just him crazy. It's just collectively this has a lot of like he's a great vocalist, and this has a lot of some of his like best vocals and writing overall.
It's like, you know, once again, I think it's a theme that comes up a lot. Like, definitely not a traditionally technical vocalist, but just such a great deliverer of his writing that there's nothing to match that sort of a thing.
I think my two favorite like lines/deliveries from it are like, the hungry and the hunted explode into rock and roll bands. And like the tonight the streets on fire, the real death walls.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Great song. Wonderful song.
All right, what do you got?
What do I got? What do I got
Love
to rebel against?
him. That's what you've got. That's her number 3.
Plot.
Sublime is all of her top 3 songs.
Or you may get shot. You might, if you don't stop
It's
that.
time for her big reveal. Will Mia pick Santeria or Doing Time as number 1?
Oh, neither. It's Wrong Way.
Oh, okay. At least it's not date rape.
No, number 3 has also been on John's list. Well, it's an album closer. Can you guess what the album closer is, John?
Knights of Sidonia?
Correct! You nailed it! Top Muse song. This is the top Muse song. Great concert. We've been over this. You get me. Western concert closer.
Epic.
Amazing song.
No one's gonna take you alive.
No one whatsoever. Time's coming to make things right. What more is there to say about it? I'll go on for about 45 minutes if we don't
Bonus
put a
edition.
limit. Oh no. It's just Knights of Sidonia.
Mia on Knights of Sidonia. How long
We need to cut it now.
That should be a bonus episode. How long can Mia talk just about Knights of Sidonia?
It would be an incredibly long time. You don't want to try that. And that's the whole point. All right, John, please take us to number 2 quickly.
Number 2, another frequent flyer on my list.
That was a frequent turner.
It is a frequent
Oh,
turner.
it is frequent
yes,
turner.
it is frequent turner
I didn't
with
even know.
I Am Disappeared as my number 1 song by him. This is another as with so many of these, another one that really builds into a great crescendo.
You're like a crescendo person.
I like my crescendos, and my downscendos.
Downscendos.
This one,
I like parts.
it's kind of like, it's just generally about kind of like wanderlust and him like kind of wanting to wander. I'm a great speaker.
Wanting to wander.
Yep.
Wanting
a lot
for
of great
wandering.
imagery, a lot of like fantastic like instrumentation. Like this album, England Keep My Bones, where he kind of like really like perfected like the balance between like him being a great songwriter and lyricist, and then also just having these great arrangements on it.
Absolutely, just nailed that middle ground.
Like the guitar is great. There's that little like piano riff over the chorus. The drums come in to kind of like suddenly make the like second verse like twice as like energetic.
When we saw an acoustic set of it, he did a fantastic version of this as well. That was a little more stripped down and like arguably even more dramatic, though. I think.
Yeah. Was that the one where the like light flashed?
Yes,
right?
yes,
Something
it was.
happening.
It was spellbinding. You know that like the whole like bridge was like a cappella, I think. So it really hit it in.
Yeah, and he even got the name of his backing band from the
He
ending
did,
of
didn't he?
it.
That's right.
Right.
Number 2, we've got another album closer.
Oh,
And-
okay. So it's got to be 40. Smoke of 40. I don't know what the
It's a
Sublime
name
album
now.
closer is.
No, it's what I got. It's totally closer. Anyway. Yeah, I guess we've got an album closer, and an album should have been closer, but is actually second to closer with a nice little lullaby after it. We're Not Gonna Take It, the last track on the Tommy album by The Who, which remains my favorite album, even if I don't necessarily think it hits the musical peaks of
Song by song, yeah.
Yeah, like, it doesn't hit the musical peaks of, like, Who's Next or Quad, even, but it has a lot of sentimental value as well, because it was basically, you know, the first, like, 16 years of my life was covered by a lot of that album, so it definitely, when I got out of that, just listened to that album through and through and through again, just trying to make sense of what I'd just been through, because I had, like, just been separated from this man who was, you know, Cousin Kevin and Uncle Ernie in one, pretty much, and I was just kind of, you know, to certain degrees, and I was just making sense of it, and this album was on and on again. And but in terms of the plot on the album specifically, Tommy is now a major superstar from his pinball abilities. Fame's kind of gone to his head, but you also can't really blame him. He calls out, you know, he calls out people not by name, but hey, you getting drunk, Uncle Ernie should have been, you know. So sorry I got you sussed. Hey, you smoking Mother Nature, that's the Acid Queen. This is a bust. Hey, hung up old Mr. Normal, don't try to gain my trust. That's pretty much everyone else. You ain't gonna follow me any of those ways, although you think you must. Although you think you must, I'm not sure. Is that anything but a throwaway? And I need to rhyme. I need something to rhyme with bust.
I always found that an interesting line. Because it's like, you know, you're not going to follow me, although you think you will, or whatever.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Like, hey, I'm gonna be normal, but also follow you. Well, that's not really what you're doing if you want to be part of a sect or whatever. So it's like, it's gone to his head, and he's kind of gotten arrogant, but he's also, like, getting back at all the people that, you know, he kind of learned wronged him. But then, you know, it's kind of ambiguous because Uncle Ernie is still an employee, isn't it? But, yes, and I close out with See Me, Feel Me, and then it just sort of, you know, wraps everything up.
And then it's got that big, like, crescendo at the end.
Yeah, we've got parts and crescendos now.
Do you like the, like, live version of it better, or, like, the studio
version? I see the live version. Especially the See Me, Feel Me bit. The See Me, Feel Me bit is almost lifeless on the album, but makes sense. And the live version is just kind of, like, increase. It's just a chorus, really, and it's just building and building and building until they finally close it out with the Go to the Mirror riff, so... Nice wrap up there, too, while the album sort of fades.
Did you see my number one?
I think I might have.
Okay. I was going to have you guess,
Sorry.
like, which one
it was sitting on the blanket.
Yes, yeah. Alright, so this has already been on Mia's list, but this is my number one. This is Once in a Lifetime by the Talking Heads.
Great one.
Yes, one of the greatest bands of all time, one of the greatest songs of all time. Another one of these wistfully ones in my top 10. I think that the combination of, like, wistfulness and energy is a winning combination.
It is, yeah.
That was just, it's got so many, like, quirks and great, like, interesting parts while still managing to be kind of, like, deep and profound.
Yeah, it's, like, wistful, but also, like, a critique on everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just sort of a critique on materialism, and what if you did wake up in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and then, you know, maybe not as great as it turned out to be or whatever.
Yeah.
With the automobile.
All right, beautiful Mia. What's your number one?
Okay, it's number one. I did say it was second to close.
We gotta end this soon because
it's late. It's actually about 2:00. But you know, not changing anything. Because it's late. Yes, this is the second to last track on News of the World, which is my favorite Queen album. And this is my personal Bohemian Rhapsody, I guess. I mean, it was actually, like, written, if you see a lyric sheet, it was written in scenes. So, like, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. It's basically chronicling, like, a troubled relationship where someone goes and has an affair, then tries to go back and sort it out with his actual person, and then it doesn't really work out. But it's, like, it's a very simple plot, and it sounds really dumb when I tell you this, and that's the basis of an amazing song that I just put number one, but...
Very Led Zeppelin-y song.
It is kind of a Led Zeppelin-y song, isn't it? But, you know, it's got another memorable riff and parts. We got all the parts. We've got the opening, where it's a little softer. You got the riff coming in. You got the big chorus. Yeah, second verse, big chorus. And then you got the bridge. And after the bridge, you got the big solo. And you close it out with a third verse. And you go for the rest of the song. So, yeah, Brian May wrote that one. It was fantastic.
I love those call and responses in the chorus.
Yes, the chorus alone is just a work of art. Yeah, each one changing ever so slightly. You know,
Yeah.
Just speaking to the affair bit, you know, it's late but not too late. It's late but not
and that,
too
like,
late.
it's almost sounds like a kind of hymn-ish delivery.
Yeah. And
we
of
might
course,
have to end this before 30 minutes for
Okay,
YouTube,
yep.
so thank you for tuning in.
good night, we did it.